Hello everybody, I'm the Pale Recluse, coming out of hiding to present you a new series on my channel. This new series is unlike my other videos. I call it DeviantArt Finds. Basically what it is I find something that catches my attention and I provide the story with evidence and remain as unbiased as I can. Think of this series as a type of news reporting. Before I get into it though, I would kindly request that you don't find and attack any of the people I mentioned in the video. The last thing I would want is for things to escalate. With that out of the way, let's get on with it. So I used to watch this person on DeviantArt named AlexanArt. They would occasionally post anime-styled art, and I thought it looked very nice. Well, one day he posted this piece of art. I didn't pay much attention to it, since I had a whole lot of other submissions in my notifications to get through, so I skimmed over it. Then a few days later, he posted a status update saying he was going to quit DeviantArt. Here's what he said. Today I will be bringing a bad news to all my watchers. I know it's a bit too soon, and I've only been here for a couple of months. 1st August 2016. A guy wrote a comment on my newest art saying that it was not an original piece by me, which is definitely not true as I recreated it with my own style and different methods. He also had a few complaints that my art was a copy and paste when I grabbed a small picture and scaled it up, making it look blurry and pixelized. However, I wonder what makes he thinks that way, as I am using watercolor and took the art picture using my phone. I started to talk to him with good manners so that I could avoid trouble, and I don't want the viewers who viewed my art to feel uncomfortable. He started doubting me using Photoshop, which is obviously not possible since I don't have a computer that is compatible using Photoshop, and I have no experience using Photoshop at all. He disturbed two of my arts and caused me to delete one of them. I told him not to take more of his comments on my art, instead to just send me a note so we could take it privacy. On his note, he still believes I am using Photoshop and also attached a link. As I click on a link, it was a link to delete my DeviantArt profile, which completely pisses me off. I took a deep breath to calm myself down and figured why this man is doubting me so much about my art. Is it about jealousy or something that he is unsatisfied with? Which brings me to his decision. I had decided to simply quit DeviantArt for good. I don't want my art to be treated as if it is a simple Photoshop material. I've been working for years on my painting skills, and all it took is a single comment to take me down. If only I can delete his comments, it could have patched things up while blocking him, but won't do enough as his comment still remains. I read through it all and put in my 2 cents on how the person sounded like a miserable one for sending him a link to deactivate his account and wished him luck if he really decided to quit. Admittedly, it was a mistake on my part to say anything before looking into his claims, but we'll get into that. So a day or so goes by, and I was curious to see what my watchers were up to. So I peeked through their pages and came back to AlexanArt's page, since he's a watcher of mine. Remember the submission I showed earlier? Well, it had a lot more comments on it than the other ones. He would usually get one or two, sometimes none at all. Seeing how this was unusual, I decided to look at the comments and found a person calling him out on his submission being stolen. I realized then that this was the person and the submission that AlexanArt talked about in his status update. For the sake of the person's privacy, I won't be revealing their username as I read the conversation. All I can say is that this is not an original piece by you. Unfortunately, I can't find the original artist of this piece, but I did find a render which from my signature days means it came from some type of original piece render I found. The link they placed in their comment was a link to some artwork that was identical to AlexanArt's. This one was uploaded in 2015, whereas his was uploaded just days ago. No, this is not an original piece by me, I have to admit, and you can search Hatsune Miku for the original version. I only recreated it on my own taste, a bit of edit. I recreated this art by using watercolor, and while doing so, I was inspired to do the same piece as the original one. If you think my work is somehow copying or stealing, please let me know and I will remove it right away. Okay, so if this is original piece in the sense of the way you went about it, sure, okay. But to me, it looks like you found a small image of this and upscaled it, which is given it awful pixelization. Also, which makes me worry more is the fact that if you were to copy just from eyesight, it shouldn't even be close to anything else. It will have many resemblances, but there will be faults. Comparing these in Photoshop is literally a straight rip. From my experience, it's just a very bad attempt at upscaling. It works best in AI instead of Photoshop. I don't know what AI is. Which leads to pixel loss, and all I can see changed is that you threw a bokeh effect in it, did some color adjustments, and also maybe, for some reason, blurred it more to maybe hide the bad pixelization. To set things straight, you are interrupting my work, and I don't like if my viewers to be troubled. Firstly, no, I don't small image and upscaled. Secondly, the fact that I use watercolor is the reason why I gave such pixelization. Thirdly, I did not use a software named Photoshop. It's too advanced for me, and I upload this very art by my phone. Well, either way, I know what type of works this is. I am not going to fight it. I just find it sad you are claiming something it isn't. Again, hopefully your work improves. I will be rooting for you. I don't want to fight about it either, but I want my comment section to be clean, and if there's a problem with it, you can contact me directly by using emails. You have disturbed two of my works, but if it's satisfied you, then I guess we'll leave it to that. Thank you for rooting for me. Cheers. After reading their conversation, I began to see some inconsistencies between AlexanArt's comments on the submission versus his status update. For example, he says that his submission was just a recreation in his own style, but when talking to the person, he admitted that it wasn't an original piece. He also said the person accused him of blurring the piece, but said he just simply used watercolors. However, if you look at the comments, he replied to another user saying he did use the blurring effect. At this point, I began to grow suspicious of his other claims in his status update, so I took it upon myself to privately message the person he had engaged with. Hello, I apologize that this is a bit out of the blue, but I actually want to get some information on something, and you're the link to it. So I watched this person named AlexanArt, and I saw a status from him saying someone confronted him about a submission that's stolen or something along those lines. And then I put in the thumbnail to his submission. He also said he was going to quit DeviantArt because the same person allegedly sent a link to the deactivation page. However, after actually taking the time to look into things a bit, I noticed there were some inconsistencies with his status versus what was said in the comments on the submission. I've grown a little bit suspicious and was curious to hear your side of the story. If you're not comfortable with that, that's alright. Thank you for reading. The person soon replied back to me. Oh, it doesn't bother me any. What happened was I confronted him about him claiming his art as his own when he took stock photos or renders, images cut out from stocks, and just slightly altered them in Photoshop or GIMP. I made posts on two of his images and gave proof of it. What he claims that was watercolor was actually artifacting from upscaling in Photoshop or GIMP. This was me taking some time to upscale the said image he claims he did in watercolor, which, if so, shouldn't even be close to identical. And then they put a link to a comparison picture. Anything I didn't say, you want clarification, no? I then asked them for more information. You seem to be pretty civil when confronting him about the situation, making me doubt his claims along with his inconsistencies. I'm no expert on watercolors, but I don't think that's how it looks, even in a digital sense. But I am especially curious about one thing now. If it was the case that you two talked privately, did things escalate, or was it pretty calm for the most part? And did you ever send him a link to delete his account? This was their reply. I kept it pretty civil if I say so myself. The person said the following. This will be the last thing we'll keep it off any of your works. I still personally believe that you are just doing photo manips, either in Photoshop, can be acquired many ways, or using GIMP, free software, when I compare the two images, if overlapped quite easily. And then they put the link to the same comparison picture. But if I am wrong, then I am wrong. He said, up to you, mate. I can't just simply change how you think. Keep the link for yourself. Maybe you find good in it. Not once did I ever want him to delete his account. I just wanted him to stop claiming something as his when it clearly wasn't. I was actually rooting for him to do better personally. I took a day to think over the messages and came to my decision to believe them, since they weren't hostile and didn't seem to have any ill intentions. I thanked them and went on my way. But the story doesn't end here, folks. On the same day, I came to my conclusion to believe them. AlexanArt happened to submit a new piece of artwork to his page, despite that he said he was going to quit. One notable thing I want to point out is his description. Feel free to favorite or put in your collection. If you are wondering what character this is, please review back to the title as it is entitled ReZero. To avoid any problems, the comment section will be disabled. If you have any problems with the art that I submitted, please send me a note directly. Also, his comments are disabled. I had a feeling something wasn't right with it and input the image to see if I could find identical ones. Sure enough, I did. I want to point out two things about the results. For one, they've been around slightly longer than AlexanArt's submission, and if you look closely, none of them have the effect like in his submission, and there's also no signature. From this, we can affirm that his submission is stolen. Well, that's pretty much the story in its entirety. My message to everyone is to look into someone's claims before taking sides. I've made this mistake from the get-go, but now I know better than to do that. If you like this video and want to see more like this, let me know. That's all I've got to say. This is a pale Recluse, and I'll see you the next time I decide to come out of hiding.